version of our 2.5-inch hose operations in high-rise buildings. We'll work on deployment methods, packing the hose methods, as well as nozzle handling techniques throughout this course. There are typically a number of different tactical options for deploying a hose line and attacking a fire in a high-rise or standpipe equipped building. Many times, any one of those options may provide an equally successful outcome. While the goal of this training lesson is not to be an exhaustive list of ideas for preparing for and attacking a fire in a high-rise building, it is intended to familiarize the participant with some of the equipment that is carried by engine companies in Dallas Fire and Rescue, and share some of the options to make carrying and deploying the equipment a more efficient process. Our objectives today are we're going to identify some keys to successful use of the 2.5-inch hose. We're also going to look at identifying a standardized hose pack, and we're also going to identify some of the new equipment and also the equipment that should be in your standpipe bags altogether. All right, let's first look at several keys to success with a 2.5-inch hose line. We need to have a user-friendly hose pack. We also need to properly stretch the line prior to charging it. That's a big factor is get this line laid out properly. Take the time to do this, and it will pay dividends in the end whenever you charge your line. And any kinks you'll have in the line, you'll need to have those straightened out prior to charging it. So let's work all that out. Take the time to do that, and it'll make much better operation. All right, further keys to success for the 2.5-inch hose line. You'll need proper operating pressures. Excessive pressures can quickly lead to failure. You want to look towards a maximum of 50 psi on your nozzle pressure, and also friction loss is approximately 20 psi per 100 feet of hose. So if you add a section of hose, this is going to just add 10 psi per section of hose. Another big key factor we have is identifying and putting our personnel at friction points and spreading out along the way. You'll have two companies operating one line. You'll need multiple people at different points to move and to facilitate advancing this hose line. I can't stress this enough. Training, training, and more training. After you get this PowerPoint viewed, you need to take your companies out. And if you can acquire a high-rise building, walk out the line. This is something more than just a parking lot exercise. All right, we're going to identify a standard high-rise hose configuration is now going to be just 3 sections of 2.5-inch hose. And we'll be using this folded into the Denver hose load, and you'll have a lead section of hose, and you also have 2 sections of hose without a nozzle. This is a good picture of a finished pack, and been telling all my classes we put the rope bag and the pressure gauge inside the standpipe bag. Here's some of our advantages. We're going to improve weight distribution, and we're going to standardize this hose pack, and that facilitates the merging of lines between companies. This particular slide here, if you'll notice, we've coupled the male and the female sections together, and we're going to lead into 2 sections, 2 straps will all be on the male side, and then this will be identified later on in the PowerPoint, but the coupling together is just to protect the male threads whenever we throw it in and out of compartments or throw it on the ground prior to putting the line in service. The nozzle is still the same nozzle that we've always had. It's just no longer a play pipe nozzle. It's a good high-rise type nozzle with a pistol grip on it. It's an 1.25 inch tip, smoothbore tip, and if you get 50 psi at the nozzle, you'll get 325 gallons a minute. Even under pumping that, even down to 30 psi, you'll be north of 250 gallons a minute with this nozzle. The current play pipe nozzle that we have on our high-rise packs now can just go into your pre-connect that's in the bed of your engine. If you don't have one in the bed of your engine, you can just put it in a compartment. So each engine should have 5 sections of the blue hose in the bed of your engine, and now you can complete this by adding a nozzle to it and have a pre-connect designated for that, and also one designated for your high-rise hose pack. Standpipe bag, if you'll look at this, we'll identify several things in here. The rope bag we can put into the standpipe bag as well, and we're going to put our pressure gauge inside there. It all fits in there really well. We're going to be adding a pipe wrench, and we'll evaluate that a little further in the PowerPoint. The lightweight pipe wrench will replace the standpipe wrench, but this pipe wrench has multiple functions. We'll put 2 60-degree elbows inside the standpipe bag. We're also adding an increaser, and all these other items that we've added, we'll talk about those a little further. But you should maybe have a double male and a double female in your bag. The door straps you see down there and the wire brush. Also have some sprinkler plugs or door wedges, whatever you call them, and truck spanners as well for, taking couplings off. If you'll notice this Knox key we put in our bag, we had several standpipe outlets identified in some buildings that we have, that each outlet has a Knox secure cap on it. So it'd just be a matter of, if you're out and about doing pre-fire planning and see those in your buildings, you might need to put one of those in your standpipe bag. And we also put the Markle paint stick in there for search and rescue. So pipe wrench here, if you'll see some of the photos that we have, it's an 18-inch pipe wrench. It'll go over your 2.5-inch cap. And also you'll see the other photo of the way it fits into a flywheel. It works really well, got a lot of leverage. And if that flywheel has been vandalized or stolen, you can just turn on the valve with that pipe wrench. Inline pressure gauge, if you'll notice, we put a cheat sheet on ours. It works really good. 3 sections of hose, we're pumping 80 psi, 4 sections 90, and so on. And all these pressures we've come up with has been rounded down for ease of reading the gauge. If you look on the gauge, you'll see identify where the 80, 90, and 100 mark is a lot easier to read. It's a big thing we need everyone to understand about the inline pressure gauge. That is going to be set with the pressures on the inline gauge. That's with water flowing. Some people think that they could just open up a standpipe valve at 80, whatever you need, and leave it alone. That's not the case. That's going to be with water flowing. You'll need to open your nozzle up prior to advancing down the hallway to make sure that you got the proper pressures. We'd hate for someone to get to a fire door, open up the nozzle, and then you have no water available at the end. So you'll need to go ahead and open up that pressure gauge pretty well, and then you can gauge it back down to whatever you're needing for your particular line. Inline pressure gauge, if you'll see just some of the calculations we have, everything again is rounded down for ease of reading the gauge. The increaser, let's talk about this just for a second. You'll add 5 psi if you want to for your pressures. It doesn't really make any difference when you're moving that much water, but more than anything, if you add a section of hose, you add 10 psi for each section of hose, and that is a 1.5 inch female coupling by a 2.5 inch male coupling, and this is used to add a section of hose if you come up short, 15 feet short of a doorway. Here's some more information about the increaser. If you need to put it in service, we recommend first that you get to a safe location and take the tip off of your current nozzle that you're using, just a tip only, and then call up. You might have another section of hose with a nozzle attached to it at the floor below where you made all your connections. Take the straps off at the floor below, bring that section up, tie it onto the end of your nozzle that's in the off mode, and then whenever you turn that nozzle on, go ahead and try to secure that nozzle with one of your black straps that you have in your standpipe bag or that you might have on standby from putting the other hose in service. Here's a picture's worth 1,000 words. You got 2 60-degree elbows, and they can just be utilized however you want to. That pressure gauge can go on that standpipe outlet before or after the elbows. It doesn't make any difference. Here's more information on the 60-degree elbows. It just reduces the kinks that you have as you make your connections, and that's one of the things that we need to get away with. We'll no longer need that 3-inch section attached to the standpipe outlet anymore. That's no longer needed, and that's something else that reduces the weight in our entire pack. Okay, at the end of this PowerPoint presentation, I'd like to invite you all to go to the Dallas Fire Rescue training channel that's on YouTube. There you can view a good video of using the increaser in this particular YouTube channel version. I also like to invite you, if you want to, you can go on the IDS under the training tab and then click on the high rise portion, and we have a breakdown of the new techniques using the increaser there as well.